Awastich, and Tansei. These are greetings to all of you in the mother languages of the Indigenous peoples of Treaty 7, who stewarded these lands at the confluence of the Bow and Elbow rivers for generations before many of us came to settle here. And on behalf of my Calgary City Council colleagues, welcome to Calgary. I hope our city has served as a great backdrop for the good work that you have gathered here to do. And what a time it is to be a municipal clerk. We exist in a world where things have not returned quite yet to the balance that we were hoping we would get back to. We're still faced with a lot of extreme polarization. The things we started to see in 2016 and 2017 have become a little bit more entrenched in some ways. And in 2020, when the pandemic descended upon us, things got even more vitriolic at times. And it feels like that divisiveness and those binary debates have somehow become worse. And what does that have to do with all of you, and what does that have to do with the roles that we fulfill? Well, it seems that the attention to what is local has become heightened, and conspiracy theories abound at times. More and more in our council meetings, we are hearing things like WEF, globalist agendas, 15-minute cities. People who believe that these concepts are somehow stripping them of their liberties, of their freedoms, and their way of life. And they're showing up. They're coming to council meetings, they're coming to speak, and it becomes our collective problem to make sure that those loud voices don't drown out the others who come to see us as well. And what used to be sort of a tame and bland process around public hearings has become less certain, and it's become less predictable. You're now faced with doubt about what someone might choose to say in those chambers, and you're faced with doubt about what someone might do. And those are not the times we used to exist in. And that kind of uncertainty creates a lot of tension in roles like yours and mine. Of course we want the public to engage with us, but we want it to happen in a safe and respectful manner. One where civic discourse is rooted in a shared set of facts that encourages a difference of opinion, but it also leaves all sides satisfied that their voices were heard, regardless of the final result. So when we're faced with hearings that are instead focused on anger and rhetoric and instability, it sometimes becomes hard to see a path forward where balance and respect are restored. And I'm here to tell you that there is absolutely a way forward where we can get back to that place, where we are able to present our best version of ourselves when we come together in shared public spaces. Because I've seen this. And even in the face of polarization that's prevalent in chambers, cities like ours are demonstrating that we can get back to that place of respectful public hearings and public engagement. Calgary just held a lengthy public hearing on zoning and land use change this past month. We had a lot of Calgarians turn out and talk to us about their hopes, about their fears, their concerns, and their lived realities. And yes, we had vitriol, and we had some people that were very angry. However, we also had many people come out to express themselves honestly, openly, and very eloquently. They shared their perspectives about how they were worried about how their neighborhoods would change and what that means to the way of life that they've become accustomed to. And some also shared stories of not being able to find housing and how difficult it was for them and how much more difficult it was for them to explain to their kids that they were going to be all right. As a council, we listened, we absorbed, and we exercised compassion. We also changed the recommendations that came from our expert administration to make sure that we maintained their intent, but also demonstrated that we had listened to the voices of people. We created amendments that better reflected what people needed for a good quality of life. And so you see, it can be done. It can be a case where we can return to civil discourse. And we must do everything that we can to generate the type of environment where polarization doesn't take over and people are able to come together publicly and share their ideas. The very process of that sharing of ideas publicly with each other is the thing that brings us back to humanity. It starts with all of us at the local level. We're being called upon to restore that faith in humanity, to elevate the voices of people who have been marginalized, and also to manage the voices of privilege. It's within our chambers that the ideas of equity, inclusion, and belonging can be fostered. with community members hearing from those who are unlike them in many ways, and yet coming to a table with a shared set of values to find a common path forward. It's not going to be easy and it's not going to be quick, so I encourage you to build relationships with each other so that you can call a friend on the day that it's been particularly rough, or you can contact someone and say, we just had the best experience and I know we're going to be all right. Because you're going to need times to vent and to commiserate. And if all of you are there for each other, we'll get through it together. And let me wrap with a story that demonstrates what we can do when we do this heavy work together with skill, compassion, and professionalism. This is a story about Kate, Jeremy, Mayan, Anna, Jordan, Austin, Chelsea, Kathleen, Jason, Jasmine, and Brent. That is our city clerk's team in Calgary. It's a team that ran the longest public hearing of council in Calgary's history, probably the longest in Canada, if not North America. It lasted 14 days. It included a Saturday, and it often involved starting at 9:30 in the morning and running until 9:30 at night. In the thick of this clerk's team had to break to clerk 2 planning commission meetings, 2 committee meetings, 1 regular meeting of council, 1 public hearing of council, and a special meeting of council. During this time, we heard from 736 people, and we received more than 6,000 written submissions. All of you know what it's like to process that much information coming in. That's what our team did. And under Kate Martin's leadership, this team managed both virtual and in-person presentations. They went over to folks who showed up and didn't quite understand how to speak at a public hearing. They clearly explained the process to them. They privately worked with presenters who were scared or overwhelmed, and they stoically withstood anger that was directed at them unfairly at times. And on the last day, in one of our final decision points, when we were so close, they had to endure a procedural vote, which meant we couldn't call 3rd reading of the bylaw. And in order to wrap this up, we had to call a special meeting of council as we adjourned the existing one so we could get that bylaw passed. All of you in this room understand what it would have been like to come off of 14 days and then have to clerk another meeting that we just called, and to get all of the materials in place and make sure everyone was prepared. But they did it. I don't know how they did it. They're incredible. I can actually see them kind of huddled over there, a few of them. Okay, whoever's here, could you stand up? This is our fabulous team, everybody. All of you will appreciate the type of fortitude it took to get through this, and we are absolutely a better city because of these beautiful human beings. And I'm sure that's not your only take of municipal clerking talent. I'm sure you have stories that you're going to share with each other, and you're going to remember the significance of the work that you do. It matters to people like me, and it matters for democracy. You are all valued, and you are very much appreciated, including Carlos from Winnipeg, who somehow managed to convince me to give him a shout out in my remarks. And a very special thank you to my friend Bonnie Hilford. Thank you for inviting me here. You know my love of municipal clerks, and I'm just thrilled that I get to hang out with all of you. She's another example of professional excellence. So for all of you who do the amazing things you do to make sure that people like me can get through some really rough times and also be there for us with bags of candy and chips on the days that are going pretty good, thank you. Sincerely, you are all incredible human beings. I hope you have a wonderful time at the conference. Thank you.